Hello YouTube and welcome to another how-to video with me over the line. At the moment we are at Circuit Paul Ricard, as you can see over the banner, and we are taking the GTR3 McLaren and the LMP2 around this track today. We're going to show you guys where you need to turn in and where you need to brake, so you can get a fast time for when we go for our 90 minutes endurance event at the end of this month at Checkered Flag Endurance. Going to go slow motion first of all, as usual, to show you guys the in-depth detail, and I'll talk you through it. And then as usual we're going to go at normal speed or full speed around for the second lap to show you guys what it's going to look like and how it's going to feel. So at the moment we are on default setup, so don't expect this to be the fastest time that you see. It's 2:07.8 on the leaderboard currently, but that's with absolute default everything including rear wing. But now we're just going to go to the cockpit mode, or the gyro mode. The camera is on the roll bar, and we're going to start off with turn 1, which is on the main straight, and talk you through it. So as you approach turn 1, you want to be braking at the 100-meter board, which is on your left hand side. Bear in mind that some cars have better brakes than others, especially the McLaren. It's kind of about midway in terms of its braking performance. It can get a bit snappy, but if you're, for example, in the Bentley or the Mercedes, for example, the brakes are not as good, shall we say. So just bear this in mind whenever you decide to take this kind of line, or the exact lines that I take. So 100 meters is generally the best way I can explain it. It's on the right hand side, is bright yellow board, you can't miss it. Staying on the right hand side, you want to brake heavily from full speed, bearing in mind you've just come down a huge straight, and you want to get to around here roughly, and this is when you want to start about coming off the brakes and turning into the corner. It's a very late apex corner, turn 1. It's going to be similar to Spa, last corners at the traditional Spa, where you've got that horrible bus stop or chicane. And this is where you want to start turning in. You want to wait until the track decides to dip again, which is around this point. As you can see, the track elevated upwards into the apex, and it's starting to dip back down again. So that is your cue to look for the apex, which is going to be around here. So you want to stay off the curbing initially, and you're waiting for this moment here when you basically in line with this other barrier opposite, or the KW sign. That's another good one if you want to use that, because that's pretty much the apex there, straight ahead. And that's what you're kind of looking for. You want to maintain that kind of speed in third gear, and then stick over to the right hand side. I went into second for some reason, but I wouldn't do that again if I had a choice. You can be quite aggressive on the curbing here. As you can see, we're pretty much in line with the white line here, but you can actually attack it up to about this point. Anything beyond that is kind of taking the mick, and you're likely to get an off track or lap invalidated. So here is your turn-in point, and you can use that to gain an advantage. You want to start accelerating once you've gone over that brow of the hill, and then move over to the left hand side. The momentum should naturally take you that way. As it is, you're still carrying quite a fair bit of speed, and the grip isn't that great, if I'm honest, so that's the way you want to do it. Then you get a short brake already, and it's a fairly long straight into 5th gear, and then your 100-meter board on the left hand side is your braking zone again. You want to stay to the left hand side of the track for this corner, brake heavily down into 3rd or 2nd depending what car you're in, and stay off the curbing for this particular corner, because it can actually hurt you quite nastily. As you can tell, even though we only touched that curb the tiniest of proportions, it still wanted to spin around as the McLaren is doing now. You want to maintain that speed again, 2nd gear or 3rd gear depending on what car you're in, and just hug the inside line of this corner here. And the reason for that is you're going to have a 90 degrees right hand corner, which is going downhill. So as soon as you're out of that corner, move over to the left hand side of the track and brake almost pretty much straight away as soon as you're able to with the car, and let the car now decelerate. You're not on the brakes anymore, and then slowly reapply that throttle, staying off the curbing because it has got 2 levels, and if you go onto this level here it will actually hurt you. Now this is a very low traction corner here. It's going to be a right hander, but it's pretty much a 180, but it's very long. So you want to be in 2nd or 3rd gear. It's going to be a low 3rd gear corner or a high 2nd gear corner if you're thinking about your rev limiter. And you want to follow the skid marks that have left been all by past competitors. So you want to hug this inside line here, and then as you get to around here where you're basically in line with the way the barrier changes, as you can see there's like a runoff point, that's when you want to start about reapplying the throttle. Very low grip here, so just be careful about when you make your exit. And then it's pretty much full throttle until you get to the back straight. You can take this left hand kink here full out, there's no limitations on that. Just attack the curb, let the car just stay as straight as possible, use all the track, all the road, and then you're on to the back straight and you're now into sector 2. The next corner is one of the trickiest of the track. It's the chicane at the rear, and you're going to have to brake really early here. The curbing on the left hand side there is your best reference point. I wouldn't recommend using the 150 meter board. You'd have to be perfect every time in order to make it. What I'd recommend personally, and what I do, is I brake just before the 150 meter board, when it's pretty much halfway between the start of the curbing and the 150 meter board. So I'm braking around here as a reference. There's no curbing on the right hand side, so you can't really use it. So I always just use the left hand side of the track as my braking reference. And plus it's a good way because your eyes are already that way, so you can check your mirrors to see if anyone's going to dive bomb down your inside as it is. So take that on board, especially if you're going to be having LMP2s around as well. So 150 meter board or just between that and the curbing. Start braking down into third gear, second gear, depending on what car you've taken. This part of the track is very bumpy in the GT3s. I have no idea why, but the braking area for this corner, it's like on off, where it's just going up and down bumps. So that's why I like to have that bit more of a gap between the 150 meter board and the apex. So it gives you that bit more time to counter any nasty behaviour that the car's going to throw at you and actually get the car turned in time. So miss the curbing is quite lethal, especially on default setup. It was for me anyway. You could probably do some setup work on that to get it out. But you want to be in second or third gear depending on what car you've taken. For the McLaren it is second, and you want to maintain the speed that you've obtained from the first apex and carry that round to the second right-hander. Now this is a vital corner here. I'll go back just because we've kind of got ahead of ourselves a bit. This corner here is extremely vital. You've now gone from a straight to this chicane where you are now, and now you're going to have another straight before you get into the last section of corners, sector 3. So this corner is very important to get right, otherwise you're going to lose a ton of time. So what you do is you go slightly over to the left hand side. You can attack the curbing quite aggressively, just don't go over the white line because that's the definition of the end of the track, and just maintain that speed. And then what you want is a nice clean run from here, and just want to full throttle your way out of this corner as soon as possible. So you can reapply the throttle as soon as you're in line with the rest of the track. Let the speed carry it over. We lost a bit of time, still within the track limits, only one tyre went out, and now you can reapply your full throttle and gain that maximum top speed in order to stay ahead of everyone else or catch up. And now you're coming up to the last section of corners now, under the Paul Ricard sign, and it's going to be the fast, my favourite corner of the track, the fast right-hander. This place is brilliant. So you've got your 50 metre board on the left hand side, that is pretty much your reference point. You're not really going to need to use the brakes that much, a tiny bit perhaps. So once you're past the 50 metre board, yep, there you go, tiny bit of brakes, and now that's it. You don't need any more now. It's just literally a tap of the brakes to make it the car turn in and just jolt that extra bit of excess speed. Maintain the fifth gear, maintain the speed, and then accelerating on the way out. You should do it right when you're exactly in this position come corner exit. As you can see, our speed on the fifth gear hasn't really changed. We are actually accelerating at this point, but the difference is so minute because the car is just so, I don't know, it's like dug into the road from the downforce of the car, that you're not really going to notice it. So what you do is you just tap on the brake, turn it in, wait for that moment, and then just start accelerating again, and you should be here by the time you get to the exit. It's not really the best way. It's a really hard one to explain. You just need to practice it, and then you'll get an idea of how your car's going to react, how it's going to turn in. Obviously you can do some setup work to help you get some more speed through that corner, so see how that goes. Okay, you're going to have a 180 double apex right hander now, which is another great corner, and you want to start braking around here. It's deceptive because it's going downhill, so you think you can brake later than what you can. It looks really far away. I mean, this is the corner here, as you can see where the blue patches stop. You can just about make out there's a line that goes across where my mouse is going, the pointer, and that is the actual corner itself. It looks miles away, but believe me, as soon as you get past the next few meters, far away seems very close indeed. So your braking point is here. There's not really any reference points, other than I've noticed just now there's a fire engine on my right hand side, but I doubt you're going to be looking at that at whatever speed you're going to be going. So down into third gear for this corner, but you want to do the gear changes at low revs. The reason for that is you're going into the corner, so you don't want to be making any severe changes. So we've just made our 2 gear changes there, down into third, and just let the car carry the speed through. You want to maintain that third gear speed once you're down there, and then you're just waiting for this late apex right hander, the other apex, and that's when you can start to reapply the throttle, which is now. Once you're in line with that, you can then start to re-accelerate out the corner. It goes uphill on the exit, so just be mindful you're not carrying too much speed, and that's where you should end up on the exit. And then straight over to the right hand side as you come up to the last few corners, and your braking point is around here. Again, there's no reference points, there's no boards or 50 meter board, 100 meter board, there's no nothing. They've just gone, screw you all, you can just practice and get perfect with it. So it's a good thing that I'm doing this for you, isn't it? Yes it is. It's damn well good. So you can brake from, you might be in 4th gear, but I'm still in 3rd at the moment. Braking from here, keep the car straight as possible, but by here you should be off the brakes. There's no more braking required. You should just be letting the car decelerate on its own. So it's slowing down by itself, just maintaining that same pace. Change down to 2nd, as you just heard the car just jolt, and hug this apex until now. That's when you can start to re-accelerate onto the power again, start to reapply 2nd gear and then up to 3rd, and then you approach the last corner of the circuit. It's going to be a left 90 degrees, but it kind of goes outwards, so it's kind of like a question mark symbol if you think about it. So your braking point is the curbing on the right hand side. Where it finishes, the last white stripe, is your braking point. You're going to be in 4th gear, and you want to brake down into 3rd or 2nd, depending on what car you're in, or whatever makes you feel comfortable. Keep the car straight once again because it's a late apex. Do not start to hug that corner just yet, and you can start to follow the black lines left by past racers. And then you just turn it in. You should be hitting the apex around now. The good reference point here is that you've got the black boards just ahead of you that stop people from flying into space. So those are your reference points. You should be hugging the corner now. Stay off of the 2nd bit of curbing. This bit here is not going to do you any good, especially once you're going through the setup. Your car's going to get less stable, let's be honest, from default, because it's got a 13 rear wing. So you're going to want more speed, so just be careful of that. Stay on this curb, and you can attack this curb here as much as you like, and that's pretty much across the entire track. That's pretty much the set rule that I've come to understand. But yeah, this is where you should be hitting the apex. The boards are in front of you, directly ahead, and you can see now where the track is starting to straighten out into the last corner. So that's when you can actually start to tuck it in and get that racing line. And then once you're straightened up, which is around here, then brake immediately for the last right hand at 90 degrees corner. Down in, well, you're already in 2nd gear. I personally went to 1st for the McLaren in default because it just felt so much more comfortable than 2nd did. McLaren bogs down in 2nd, so that's why I go into 1st. And you can tuck that in, stay off the curbing on the inside line, and gently accelerate for the last corner, and that is a full lap of Paul Ricard. So it's a fairly hard track to explain, so I did try my best when doing this, but I hope this actually did help you guys understand the track a bit more, where you're going wrong, or what kind of lines you need to take for when you join us at the 90 minutes at the end of the month. But we're going to go full speed now, just so you guys get an idea of what it's going to feel and look like, and fingers crossed that will help you even more. So here we go. Okay, so there's a full lap of Paul Ricard. Don't worry, you didn't check your Steam messages, that was someone messaging me, so don't bother with that. That is it for the GTR3 side of things. Stay tuned if you want some LMP2 advice for when you join us at the 90 minutes. And fingers crossed that has allowed you to get closer to the grid so we can have some really close fighting in GT3. So thanks for watching, and see you around. Okay, welcome to the LMP2 side of this video. We're going to be taking the Radical Judd AER around the circuit of Paul Ricard and see if we can get you guys to get a bit quicker on where you need to turn in for this particular class. There's not really much difference between this and GTR in terms of braking points. It's just the amount of speed that you are able to carry through the corner along with the frontline speed and that power unit. So going into the cockpit now, we approach the first corner, and as usual the 100-meter board on the right hand side is going to be your braking point. So braking down from 6th gear, you want to be in 3rd before you approach the corner. Once again waiting for that late apex to emerge so that you can turn in and start accelerating out of that corner. You don't want to accelerate too much though, you can do a tiny bit in order to get yourself up the hill and then start accelerating as soon as the track starts to go downwards again. Use all of the track as it's there to be used, get that optimal top speed, and then you have the mini straight. Going to be in 5th gear by the time you reach the next section of corners. Once again, 100-meter board on the left hand side is your braking zone. Want to be in 3rd gear for this corner here, or rather 2nd, do apologise. Turn the car in, staying off the curbs because the aero is not in effect as much as it was in the previous corner. Maintain that speed in 2nd gear, you do not want to lose it for the left-hander that's going to take you onto the next section of corners. Hug that inside line and move instantly over to the left-hand side for the next right-hand 90 degrees. As soon as the car is straightened up, come off the accelerator again and down into 1st gear. Turn the car in, hitting that apex on the right-hand side, and letting the car naturally decelerate. Once you're able to, start to reapply the throttle, but slowly, and stay on the left hand side of the track. Second gear, maintain that speed. You want to be able to hit that inside line, apex, follow the already laid down rubber left by previous competitors, and start to accelerate and stay to the left hand side of the circuit. Now move over to the right as you come out of that corner there, using the full speed and all the track as much as you can, and you can take the next corner at maximum throttle. And onto the back straight. This is where it's most likely going to be a lot of overtaking for the GTR3 classes. And now coming up to the chicane, braking point is just after the 150 meter board on the right hand side. Being LMP2, your braking performance is going to be better than GTR3's, so just be mindful of that when you actually do make any manoeuvres. Second gear, stay off the curbing here if you can. The car will want to oversteer at this point, but maintain it and just it will sort itself out as you can let the car decelerate a bit more. Maintain that second gear speed and hug the inside line for the right hander. Again, once again, a very important corner to get right, and then you can accelerate as soon as you're past the apex of that right hander and get a nice high top speed down the rest of the back straight here. "50 meter board is your turn-in reference here. As you can see, we've just started to turn in the wheel on our cockpit view at the 50 meter board. Come off the throttle a tiny bit, but there's no need to use any brakes for the LMP2s whatsoever. So just maintain that 6th gear speed. There you go, and you're through. It's the easiest corner in the entire circuit in this class. Braking point is, as you can see on the curbing here, if you look to your left, you can see it's got two different levels. You've got a high curb and then a flat curb, which runs in line with the concrete. It's just literally painted onto the road surface, but there's actually a curb here which you can see. That is pretty much your braking point, so pretty much 2 reds before you start to turn into the corner. This is your braking point. You want to brake down into 3rd gear, but again it's low gear changes that you need to take. You don't want to be using the brakes too much here. You're just pretty much letting the car carry the speed through. You just want to maintain that speed so that it can turn in and not go straight onto the blue lines, which we do, but it's still within track limits, just about with 2 wheels inside the racing track or racetrack itself. And then start to reapply your throttle once you're in line with that curbing on the right hand side for the second part of the corner, and let the car carry the speed up towards the left hand side of the circuit. It should be in 4th gear by the time you get to the top of this on the exit. Moving over to the right hand side now for the last few corners, braking as soon as you're in line with the red barrier. Braking point is around here, and braking down into 3rd gear. Again, a low revving gear change. Once again, let the car decelerate. No braking is required at this point. Just let the car do its own thing. The only time you should be using more brakes if you're carrying too much speed and you need that extra bit of turning. And now accelerating out, hitting the curbing on the right hand side, but not too much, and letting the car accelerate out onto the last few corners. Stay to the right hand side of the track, the same with GTR3, and use that line again on the right hand side as your braking zone. So braking down from 5th down into 3rd. There's the 3rd gear there, quite a low gear change. And let the car now carry the speed through, carry it through. Again, once you're in line with these black barriers which are ahead of you, that's when you want to tuck it into the apex, hit that white line if you can. On this occasion we don't, but we're close enough. And then as soon as the car straightens up, then apply the brakes and get ready for the last corner. 1st gear, turn the car in, and accelerate once you pass the apex onto the main straight. And that is a full lap of Paul Ricard in LMP2. So fingers crossed once again that it helped you guys get to the front of the grid and get those lap times down for when you go racing. And we're going to go around the track again at full speed to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. Okay, so there you have it. That's both GTR3 and LMP2 walkthroughs for the Paul Ricard circuit. Join us this Sunday when we go for a 25-minute practice race at this track with those two vehicles at Checkered Flag Endurance. And then we'll be doing the 90 minutes of Paul Ricard on the 23rd of April this month. And fingers crossed, that will be a very good race indeed, with lots of people turning out, as we did for the last 3 races that we've done with this kind of combination. Don't forget also that we'll be doing the 75 minutes of Bathurst. That will be with the GTR3s and World Touring Car Championship cars from 2013. So that's another one to keep an eye out for, and I will do the how-to videos for that very shortly as well. So thank you guys for watching, and I hopefully see you signed up for the race.
Welcome to the Salem 6 Hours at the Glen. This is a huge prestige event, one of the 4 majors that make up the Tequila Patron North American Endurance Cup.
He's through it already, there's a car off the road, and look at that, there's barely any tarmac visible. This enormous field pouring its way up towards the